Welcome to Wikipedia for sleep. Tonight, we gently ease into the tale of Ben Gunn from Treasure Island. Relax now. Let your eyes softly close as quiet details guide you to slumber. Ben Gunn, Treasure Island. Benjamin Ben Gunn is a fictional character in the 1883 novel Treasure Island by Scottish author Robert Louis Stevenson. Appearances. Treasure Island Ben Gunn is an ex-crewman of Captain Flint's who has been marooned for 3 years on Treasure Island by his crewmates, after his failure to find the treasure without the map. During his time alone on the island, Gunn develops an obsessional craving for cheese. He first appears in the novel when Jim Hawkins encounters him. Ben treats Jim kindly in return for a chance of getting back to civilization. Jim leaves Ben Gunn behind, but escapes to the Hispaniola on Ben's coracle. Ben appears later making ghostly sounds to delay Long John Silver's party searching for the treasure, but Silver recognizes his voice, restoring the pirates' confidence. They forge ahead and locate where Flint's treasure was buried. The pirates discover the cache has been rifled and all the treasure is gone. The enraged pirates turn on Silver and Jim, but Ben Gunn and several others surprise attack the pirates, killing 2 and dispersing the rest. Silver surrenders to Dr. Livesey, promising to return to his duty. They go to Ben Gunn's cave home, where Gunn has had the treasure hidden for some months. The treasure is divided amongst Squire Trelawney and his loyal men, including Jim and Ben Gunn, who gets a very small share, £1,000, equivalent to £105,000 in 2025, of £700,000, equivalent to £73,589,000 in 2025. Total, and they return to England, leaving the surviving pirates marooned on the island. Once in England, Gunn manages to spend his entire portion of the treasure in just a few days and becomes an estate gamekeeper for the rest of his life. Portobello Gold in the prequel story Portobello Gold, written by Arthur D. Howden Smith with explicit permission from Stevenson's executor, and published in 1924, Ben Gunn is a servant of Captain Andrew Rip Rap Murray, a Jacobite privateer. The cunning Murray masterminds the capture of a Spanish treasure ship, having obtained details on its route through an elaborate ploy and his Jacobite connections. Murray considers Ben Gunn to be a half-wit, and thus a particularly trustworthy servant, unable to understand Murray's schemes and incapable of deceit or treachery. Captain Flint's pirate band works with Murray in the operation, and is promised just under half of the captured treasure, which is transferred from Murray's Royal James to Flint's Walrus at Captain Kidd's anchorage on Treasure Island. Mistrusting each other, Murray's and Flint's bands come to blows over the treasure, however. Flint's crew prevails, and in the aftermath Ben Gunn, although hating being a lackey and wearing a livery Shuet, offers to serve Flint. Ben Gunn is given the exact same duties he had under Murray, being assigned as a servant to Flint's cabin boy Darby McGraw. During infighting among the pirates over the treasure map following Flint's death in Savannah, Ben Gunn and Darby McGraw escape to Charleston with the protagonists and a small amount of gold. Still fearful of a life as a servant, he insists on becoming a proper sailor, and the protagonists find him a berth on a Barbados packet boat. The Adventures of Ben Gunn. Ben Gunn is the main character in The Adventures of Ben Gunn, a prequel to Treasure Island written by R. F. Delderfield. The story follows Ben Gunn from parson's son to pirate, and is narrated by Jim in Gunn's words. Inspiration. As a child, Stevenson repeatedly summered in the spa town of Bridge of Allan. Stevenson's cave in Bridge of Allan was reportedly the inspiration for Ben Gunn's dwelling. Other media in the 1996 Disney film Muppet Treasure Island. This character was feminized as Benjamina Gunn, Miss Piggy, by Brian Henson and the scriptwriters, in which she is written as Captain Smollett's former fiancée who was jilted at the altar and later became romantically involved with Captain Flint before being marooned and made queen of the native wild boars on the island. By the end of the film, she and Smollett rekindle their relationship, and she helps him against Silver's pirate crew. In Disney's animated film Treasure Planet, Ben Gunn is portrayed as B.E.N., voiced by Martin Short, an abandoned, whimsical robot who claims to have lost most of his memory after a component was stolen by Captain Flint. Jim and his group meet Ben while exploring the planet's forest, and the robot invites them to his house to care for the wounded Captain Amelia. When Silver's pirates corner the group here, using a back door, Jim and Ben return to the ship in an attempt to recover the map. Ben, working to sabotage the ship's artillery, accidentally turns off the artificial gravity, whereupon Jim and Scroop, who were fighting, threaten to float off into space, which happens to Scroop. Later, Jim and Ben obtain the map. Upon their return, they are captured by Silver, who has already taken Doppler and Amelia prisoner. While searching the treasure stash, Jim discovers the skeletal remains of Flint himself, clutching a missing part of Ben's cognitive computer. Jim reinserts the memory circuit from Flint, which restores Ben's memory. Ben then recalls that Flint had taken his memory to prevent him from revealing that the planet would begin collapsing if anyone tried to steal his treasure. After narrowly escaping the exploding planet, Ben joins Jim's family and is last seen working at the rebuilt Benbow Inn. For a time, in London, there was an annual production at the Mermaid Theatre, originally under the direction of Bernard Miles, who played Long John Silver, a part he also played in a television version. Comedian Spike Milligan would often play Ben Gunn in these productions. The Ben Gunn Society album released in 2003 presents the story centered around the character of Ben Gunn, based primarily on chapter Roman 15, Man of the Island, and other relevant parts of the book. Ben Gunn was the main inspiration for Herman Toothrot, a marooned and half-crazed hermit in the Monkey Island game series. Ben Gunn is portrayed by Chris Fisher in the Starz television series Black Sails. He is first encountered by Captain Flint and his crew when they are captured and imprisoned after landing on an island inhabited by a large group of escaped slaves. Gunn is already a prisoner in the settlement, being the last surviving crew member of an unnamed slave trading vessel. Let us drift gently now toward Madtsoiidae. Madtsoiidae. Madtsoiidae is an extinct family of mostly Gondwanan snakes with a fossil record extending from early Cenomanian, Upper Cretaceous, to late Pleistocene strata located in South America, Africa, India, Australia, and southern Europe. Madtsoiidae include very primitive snakes, which, like extant boas and pythons, would likely dispatch their prey by constriction. Genera include some of the longest snakes known, such as Vasuki, measuring at least 11 to 15 meters, 36 to 49 ft, long, and the Australian Unwind and Uwalunga. As a grouping of basal forms the composition, and even the validity of Madtsoiidae is in a state of flux as new pertinent finds are described, with more recent evidence suggesting that it is paraphyletic or polyphyletic as previously defined. Although Madtsoiids persisted on Australia until the Pleistocene, they largely went extinct elsewhere during the Eocene. However, some species persisted in South America and India through the Oligocene. Description: Madtsoiidae was first classified as a subfamily of Boidae, Madtsoiinae, in Hofstadter. Further study and new finds allowed ranking the group as a distinct family in Linnaean systems. With the recent use of cladistics to unravel phylogeny, various analyses have posited Madtsoiidae as a likely clade within serpents, or possible paraphyletic stem group outside serpents, and within a more inclusive Ophidia. Madtsoiid snakes ranged in size from less than 1 meter 3 ft, estimated total length, to over 11 meters 36 ft, and are thought to have been constrictors analogous to modern pythons and boas, but with more primitive jaw structures less highly adapted for swallowing large prey. There are specific anatomical features that diagnose members of this family, such as the presence of hypophyses only in anterior trunk, that the middle and posterior trunk vertebrae possess a moderately or well-developed hemokeel, except for a few near the cloacal region, often with short laterally paired projections on the posterior part of the keel. Also, all trunk and caudal vertebrae have at least a parazygentral foramen, sometimes several of them, located in a more or less distinct fossa that is lateral to each zygentral facet. Additional features are the prosygapophyseal process's absence, while the paracaudal foramina are present, and that the diapophyses are relatively wide, exceeding width across prosygapophyses at least in the posterior trunk vertebrae. Scanlon 2005. Like most fossil snakes, the majority of Madtsoiids are known only from isolated vertebrae, but several, Madtsoiidae, M. Camposi, Unwind narracortensis, Nanowana spp, unnamed Uwalunga spp, Najash riongrina, have associated or articulated parts of skeletons. Of the genera listed below, all have been referred to Madtsoiidae in all recent classifications, except Najash riongrina, which is included here based on diagnostic vertebral characters described by Apostegui and Zahar. These authors didn't include Najash among Madtsoiids because they consider that Madtsoiids are a paraphyletic assemblage of basal macrostomatans related to Madtsoiidae, and consequently, not related to the Cretaceous Elethnophidians from southern continents. Repel et al. Classified Unwind narracortensis within the extant radiation crown group of snakes as Macrostomata incerti sedes, but many of their character state attributions for this species have been criticized or refuted by Scanlon and the better preserved skulls of Uolunger sp/SBP have numerous characters apparently more plesiomorphic than any macrostomatans. Scanlon, 2006. The partial skull attributed to Najash Riongrina, Apisteguia, and Zahar 2006, resembles that of the non-Madtsoiidae patagonica, and vertebrae support that they are related. The type material of Najash is the only possible Madtsoiid specimen retaining evidence of pelvic and hind limb elements, which are claimed to be more plesiomorphic than other Cretaceous-limbed snakes, such as pakirhatches, Haseophis or Eupodophis, in retaining a sacroiliac contact and well-developed limbs, with a huge and well-defined trochanter. The sacroiliac contact is perhaps misleadingly described by Apisteguia and Zahar as unique possession of a sacrum, whereas it has rarely been questioned that the cloacal vertebrae in snakes are homologous to the sacrals of limbed squamates. That is, the sacrum is present, but has lost contact with the reduced ilia in other taxa. It would be unsurprising if other Madtsoiids also possessed hind limbs as complete as those of Najash. Several Madtsoiid genera have been named using indigenous words for legendary rainbow serpents or dragons, including Wanambai Pichinchetjara, Uolunger, Yalngu, and Nanowana in Australia, and Hirnsugia Basque in Europe. G.G. Simpson apparently started this trend by compounding Madtsoia from indigenous roots. In this particular case, these originated from the Tehuilche language, although the reference made was geographic rather than mythological, the derivation being from that language's terms mad, valley, and soy, cow, as a rough translation from Spanish name of the type locality, Cañadón Veica. A 2022 morphological study found Madtsoiidae to be polyphyletic, with Sanaceae being found to be the most basal member of the Ophidia, whereas the Cenozoic Australian Madtsoiids were basal Elethanophidians. Classification Gigantophis Andrews, 1901 Gigantophis garstini Andrews, 1901 Andrews, 1906, Hofstetter, 1961b, Paleogene Late Eocene, Egypt Birket Karun and Kasser El Sagha formations, Libya Madtsoia Simpson, 1933 Madtsoia by Simpson, 1933, Paleogene Early Eocene Sarmiento formation, Argentina, Madtsoia compare M. by Simpson, 1935, Hofstetter, 1960, Paleogene, Late Paleocene Las Flores formation, Argentina Madtsoia madagascariensis Hofstetter, 1961 A. Paivto, 1933, Cretaceous Maastrichtian Mivarano formation, Madagascar Madtsoia Af. Madagascariensis De Bruyne et al., 1974, Cretaceous Coniacian or Santonian in Besetin formation, Niger Madtsoia camposi rage, 1998, Paleogene Middle Paleocene Itaborai formation, Brazil Madtsoia pisjurensis Mohabi et al., 2011 Cretaceous, Maastrichtian Lametta formation, India Wanambai Smith, 1976 Wanambai Naracortensis Smith, 1976 Scanlon and Lee 2000, Scanlon 2005, Neogene Pliocene to Pleistocene, Australia Wanambai Barrii Scanlon and Lee 2000 Neogene, early Miocene. Australia Patagoniophyes albino, 1986 Patagoniophyes parvus albino, 1986 Cretaceous, Campanian or Maastrichtian Los Alamitos Formation. Argentina, Patagoniophyes australiensis Scanlon, 2005, Scanlon, 1993, Paleogene, early Eocene. Australia Alamitophis albino, 1986 Alamitophis argentinus albino, 1986 Cretaceous, Campanian or Maastrichtian Los Alamitos and La Colonia formations. Argentina Alamitophis elongatus albino, 1994 Cretaceous, Campanian or Maastrichtian Allen formation. Argentina Alamitophis tingamera Scanlon, 2005, Scanlon, 1993, Paleogene, early Eocene. Australia Rheongraphis albino, 1986 Rheongraphis Madtsoiides albino, 1986 Cretaceous, Campanian or Maastrichtian Los Alamitos formation. Argentina Ualunger Scanlon, 1992 Ualunger Camphildensis Scanlon, 1992 Neogene, Middle Miocene Bullock Creek, Northern Territory. Australia Ualunger SPP. Scanlon 2004, 2006. Paleogene Neogene Oligocene to Miocene. Australia Hirnsugia rage, 1996 Hirnsugia caristerum rage, 1996 Cretaceous, Campanian or Maastrichtian Vittoria formation. Spain Nanowana Scanlon, 1997 Nanowana Godthelpi Scanlon, 1997 Neogene, early to middle Miocene Australian fossil mammal sites, Riversley. Australia Nanowana Shrinky Scanlon, 1997 Neogene, early to middle Miocene. Australia Sanne J. Wilson et al. 2010 Sanne J. Indicus Wilson et al. 2010 Cretaceous Maastrichtian Lametta Formation. India Menarana Lajuk et al. 2010 Menarana Nozamina Lajuk et al. 2010 Late Cretaceous Maastrichtian Mivarano Formation. Madagascar Menarana Lauraceae Rage, 1996 Astibia et al. 1990 Cretaceous Campanian or Maastrichtian. Spain Nidaphis Vassile et al. 2013 Nidaphis insularis Vassile et al. 2013 Late Cretaceous Maastrichtian Densicella Formation. Romania Adenophis Pritchard et al. 2014 Adenophis Fistaka Pritchard et al. 2014 Late Cretaceous Maastrichtian Mivarano Formation. Madagascar Platyspondylophes Smith et al. 2016 Platyspondylophes tadkishwarensis Smith et al. 2016 Paleogene Eocene Cambay Shale, India Madtsoiidae Gomez et al. 2019 Madtsoiidae Radje Gomez et al. 2019 Cretaceous Maastrichtian La Colonia Formation. Argentina Pauilophes Garbaraglio et al. 2022 Pauilophes andina Garbaraglio et al. 2022 Paleogene Paleocene Mila Formation. Argentina Vasuki Data and Badgepi, 2024 Vasuki Indicus Data and Badgepi, 2024 Paleogene Eocene Nerdi Formation. India Unnamed Specimens Madtsoiidae in Det. Rage 1987 Paleogene Paleocene, Morocco Madtsoiidae in Det. Werner and Rage, 1994, Rage and Werner, 1999. Cretaceous, Cenomanian, Sudan. Madtsoiid, Rage and Prasad, 1992. Cretaceous, Maastrichtian, India. Madtsoiid, Rage, 1991. Paleogene, Early Paleocene Santa Lucia Formation. Bolivia, Madtsoiidae in det. Compare Madtsoiidae sb. Scanlon 2005. Paleogene Early Eocene, Australia, Madtsoiidae in det. Foley and Cadrea 2005. Cretaceous Maastrichtian, Romania, Madtsoiidae Nav. Gomez and Baez 2006. Cretaceous, Late Campanian or Early Maastrichtian, Argentina, Madtsoiidae in det. Wazir et al. 2022. Late Oligocene, India, phylogeny according to a cladistic analysis by Scanlon, Wonambi and Uolunger, as representative genera of Madtsoiidae form a monophyletic assembly. However, as Madtsoiidae is not included, its grouping in the same family is questionable. And now a new story begins. Hunting, fishing, and animals in ancient Egypt. Hunting, fishing, and animals in ancient Egypt. The ancient Egyptian culture is full of rich traditions and practices revolving around human interactions with wildlife. Wildlife in ancient Egypt used to be very different compared to the wildlife currently present in Egypt for several factors and variables. Animals such as elephants, rhinoceros, and hippopotami used to live in different parts of Egypt. However, these animals do not exist in Egypt today. Animals were very much appreciated and important in Egyptian history. Even some deities were represented as animals. As Hathor, the goddess of fertility, love, and beauty, was represented as a cow. Animals and religion in ancient Egypt, there existed a ceremony for slaughtering animals. However, there is no one common ritual, but several different ceremonies. The most important ceremony is represented in the Ra temple, the dramatically texts of Ramesseum, and in the Book of Opening the Mouth. The pictures often display the same scene, where a bull is lying on the ground, with its legs tethered together. On the other side of the bull is a woman, with the butcher ready to cut off its forelegs, a Sem priest standing behind the butcher, and a lector priest. The woman is identified as a goddess, Isis. The Sem priest gives the signal for the butcher to slaughter the bull, and the lector priest reciting the ritual. Swamp hunting. Swamp hunting was a social event in which upper-class hunting society families practiced. Swamp hunting included fowling with sticks and spear fishing. According to the narratives of the poorly preserved The Pleasures of Fishing and Fowling, and The Sporting King, which were edited by Ricardo Caminos. These narratives described how the upper class enjoyed hunting as recreational sport. The Pleasures of Fishing and Fowling narrates King Amenemhat II swamp hunts, where the royal hunting party travels to a lake in Fayum. The group included women of the harem and the king's children. Fowling with sticks. Egypt's geographic location played a major role in the variety and population of birds in Egypt. Migrating Eurasian birds exhausted from their long journey come to rest in the wetlands of the Nile Delta. Ancient Egyptians capitalized from the large flocks of birds and hunted them either for food, offerings to the dead and gods. Bird hunting through fowling with sticks was considered to be a sport practiced by royalty in ancient Egypt. Fowling with sticks was practiced by throwing a stick at flying birds. Initially, Fowling with sticks was considered as a hobby practiced by the elite. Fowling with sticks became a common practice to commoners, and not specific to royalty after the 5th dynasty. Clapnet bird fowling, a more efficient and effective technique practiced by ancient Egyptians to fowl birds, was clapnet. However, it required teamwork, skilled fowlers, someone to coordinate and oversee, a clapnet, and sometimes a decoy bird, which was usually a gray heron to attract the prey. Fishing fish were very abundant in Egypt, as Egypt is located on both the Mediterranean and Red Seas, along with the River Nile. Fishing was typically practiced on the River Nile, either by nets from a boat, using dragnets from shore, or using bow nets in narrow banks of the river. On the other hand, fishing was also practiced as a sport for pleasure. Spearfishing and angling were two types of fishing, as a sport that required a lot of patience and skill. Spear fishing, a demanding and challenging method of fishing. Spearfishing requires certain attributes in the hunter, as patience to decoy the fish, and a certain amount of accuracy to end up with a well-aimed throw. Spearfishing in ancient Egypt had greater value as a sport than angling did. Originally, in prehistoric and early times, spearfishing only served to provide food, and then it evolved into a recreation for the upper class. Fishing spears and their construction. According to archaeological evidence, spears used in sports could be divided into 3 types: spears with a single head, 2-headed spears, and harpoons. It is not clear whether harpoons were used to fish for fish only, or for crocodiles and hippopotami also. This is because of the relative small size of the harpoon to the size of the hippopotami and crocodiles. Angling. Similar to modern fishing, angle fishing was a very common fishing technique, which requires a hook. However, no fishing rods were used at the time, instead, thick hand lines. Angling was mostly practiced among commoners and not upper-class Egyptians. Unlike spear fishing, angling was not practiced as a sport, but it was an important means of obtaining food. The picture evidence available does not show upper-class people practicing angling. However, usually the pictures display commoners using angling to fish from a boat, with their masters watching. Evidence of the first fishing rod appears in the Middle Kingdom period, in the tomb of Beni Hassan. Later on, in tombs of 18th and 19th dynasty officials, do we see evidence of upper-class Egyptians practicing fishing by angling with their wives, which indicates that by that time, fishing by angling had become an upper-class recreational sport. Hunting was practiced as a way to gather food and for self-defense against wild animals in ancient Egypt. Once people started domesticating animals, and depending on the breeding of animals for food, hunting lost its importance as a source of nutrition. As a result of this lesser dependency on hunting for food, hunting became a recreational sport. Hunting was practiced by royalty to signify power and the ability to protect their people from danger. Hippopotamus. The hippopotamus often signifies chaos and evil in ancient Egypt, as the hippopotamus was believed to be the incarnation of the god Seth, the opponent of the good gods Osiris and Horus. Horus then avenged his father Osiris by killing Seth, who is incarnated as a hippopotamus. The king then takes the role of Horus, whenever he kills the hippopotamus. From the first dynasty onward, some pictures have been found with scenes in which the king hunts alone, as the hippopotamus became the symbol of chaos and evil. Hunting the hippopotamus displayed the king's unmatched power, as depicted in King Den's cylindrical seal, where he wrestles and pins down the hippopotamus weaponless. Other pictures have been found of tomb owners in the New Kingdom killing the hippopotamus. These pictures are believed to have an exclusive religious significance. The hippopotamus was also a symbol of the protective goddess Taweret. Wild bulls were usually hunted by kings. This is evident in the story of King Amenhotep III, where a man informed the king that there were wild bulls in the desert in the area of Fayum. The king then traveled north to Fayum, accompanied by his army, and ordered the soldiers to observe the wild bulls and confine them with fences and ditches. King Amenhotep III spent 4 days in the hunt without resting his horses, and had a tally of 96 wild bulls out of a total of 170 bulls observed. Moreover, drawings of bull hunting have been represented on the walls of Ramesses Roman II funerary temple in Medinet Habu, where he stabs the last breath out of an injured bull. Lions. Lions are often identified as a symbol of power in the animal kingdom. The earliest pictures of lion hunting came from late prehistoric or early historic times, and in the beginning it was not intended to be as a sport, but to rid the country of a plague, which was threatening people. Later, pictures emerged of the king taking hold of the lion to stab it to death, as was displayed in Ramesses Roman III temple at Medinet Habu. Moreover, Thutmose III bragged about his ability to hunt lions, claiming that he killed 7 lions in 1 second with his arrow shot. Amenhotep III, a fan of big game hunting, had a list of the animals he hunted, including 102 wild lions in his first decade as ruler. Elephants in prehistoric times. Elephants were despised and initially driven out by Egyptians because of their consumption of the crops and damaging the agriculture. It is not until the Egyptians push into Asia in the 18th dynasty that the Egyptian came into contact with elephants. Hunting elephants was treasured by Egyptian kings because of their ivory, which was valuable. Moreover, hunting elephants showed the power of the king because of the elephant's immense size. Thutmose III reported that he killed 120 elephants. Let your mind wander now to Kirknewton, Northumberland. Kirknewton, Northumberland. Kirknewton is a Northumbrian village in the north of the county of Northumberland, about 6 miles 10 km from the town of Wooler and roughly the same distance to the Scottish borders. The village lies in the valley of Glendale, which takes its name from the River Glen, whose source at the confluence of the Beaumont Water and the College Burn lies at the west end of the village. The population as taken at the 2011 census was less than 100. Details are maintained in the parish of Ackle. Demography. The parish of Kirknewton was one of the geographically largest in the United Kingdom, but one of the smallest in terms of population, with a count of 108 residents, 56 female, 52 male, in the 2001 UK census. Most residents live in the villages of Kirknewton, West Newton and Hethpool, with the remainder scattered in remote farms and steadings, many of which are now holiday properties. Prior to the 2011 census, the parish merged with neighboring Akeold. Hethpool. The name Hethpool derives from pool at Hetha, from the name of Great Heath, a nearby hill rising to 343 meters, 125 ft, odd. Alternatively, Heath Pool, a suburb of Adelaide, South Australia, is known as Heath Pool after the first European settler in that area, George Reed, who came from Hethpool/Heathpool in Northumberland. Employment in Kirknewton is mainly based around agriculture, although following decline in this industry, most residents either work in the local towns of Wooler or Berwick-upon-Tweed or are retired. The area has a reasonable tourist industry due to the Northumberland National Park, which borders the village, and the area's outstanding natural beauty. Transport. The village of Kirknewton used to be a station on the Elmwick to Cornhill Railway, run by the Elner. This branch line carried passengers and goods until the 1950s, when it became uneconomical to run due to dwindling passenger numbers, a competing bus service, and a number of storms which had destroyed parts of the line. The station itself and the station master's house still stand and are used as private residences. Today, Glen Valley Tours operate the 266 bus service every Wednesday, 2 buses per day, from Wooler to Kirknewton and other surrounding villages. Education. Kirknewton School originally stood near the church. It was one of the earliest schools to be purpose-built in Northumberland. It dated from 1794. The vestry minutes showing the decision to build the school can be viewed in the archives at Woodhorn, and enabled some education to be available for young children. The school was enlarged in 1886, possibly to cater for the larger numbers of children who would need places after the railway came through Kirknewton. There was a station master with his family and 3 railway cottages together with a railway cottage at Yeavering, all with families and within the school catchment. Built on part of the glebe land in the late 18th century, the school always had connections with the church. In 1964, a new school opened, and the old school became the village hall. The new school operated as a Church of England-aided primary school for 4 to 11-year-olds until 1981, after which, in the county of Northumberland's shift to a 3-tier education system, it became a first school for 4 to 9-year-olds, causing a sudden and dramatic fall in pupil numbers. The old school was eventually knocked down in 1999 and replaced with a new hall which opened in 2001. The school, sadly, did not survive much longer. Despite campaigning by parents, the school eventually closed in 2004, with the 4 remaining pupils going to nearby Ford First School. The school building has since been demolished. However, the site still serves young people as an outdoor center for the Girl Guides. The original school building, which became the village hall, was itself demolished and replaced with a new purpose-built hall in the early 2000s. This is used for village events on a regular basis and by a number of local groups and societies. Religious sites, the Church of St. Gregory the Great, is situated in the middle of the village. Parts of the church date back to Norman times, and it is famous for a carving of the Adoration of the Magi. The carving on the wall of one of the oldest parts of the church depicts the Magi, apparently in kilts. However, Christianity has been practiced here long before this. In the 7th century, Saint Paulinus baptized Anglo-Saxon King Edwin of Northumbria at York, and subsequently many of his followers in the River Glen at Jeffrin, nearby. A monument known as the Jeffrin Stone is erected at this location. Notable people, the social reformer Josephine Butler was born at Millfield House, about 6 miles from Wooler. She is buried in the village churchyard. Anne Lambton, usually known as A.K.S. Lambton or Nancy Lambton, the historian of medieval and early modern Persia, lived in the village. Our next topic tonight is Smart Cities EMC Network for Training. Smart Cities EMC Network for Training. The Smart Cities EMC Network for Training, CENT, is a project funded by the European Union's Horizon 2020 research program under the Marie Skłodowska-Curie Grant Agreement No. 812391. It is a Ph.D. training network program in the field of electromagnetic compatibility, EMC, especially in the smart cities application. 3 universities, the University of Twente, the University of Nottingham, the University of Zielona-Góra, and 12 industries collaborate in CENT project. Supported by the IEEE-EMC Society Technical Committee 7, Low Frequency EMC. Besides Ph.D. training program, CENT project also performs scientific training programs and social outreach programs. History: the initiative began in 2018 with the aim of finding solutions to power quality (PQ) problems arising from conducted electromagnetic interference (EMI) from integrated electrical power system equipment that are becoming smart cities. The European Union started CENT project at 1 September 2018 as part of the H2020 EU 1.3.1 under ITN scheme. The H2020 EU 1.3.1 is an EU collaborative program to foster new skills by means of initial training of researchers. The Cordes EU Commission stated, as the part of Horizon 2020 program, the CENT project is designated to support the optimization of power distribution networks inside buildings and industrial plants and transport networks with respect to compatibility, no interference, and efficiency. The CENT project implement in 4 years and end on 31 August 2022. Objectives: the CENT project was established to carry out doctorate training, scientific training, and social activities in collaboration with universities, research institutions, and non-academic organizations. In order to achieve this general objective, the CENT project divides their work into several detailed projects called work packages. Management objective: efficient project execution, including finance, reporting, and maintaining the relationship between the CENT stakeholders. Training objective: create a European doctoral/graduate school for EMC, especially on conducted emissions, susceptibility and harmonics. Dissemination and exploration objective. Disseminate the scent findings to the European academic, educational, industrial, and public groups. Integrate the scent doctoral program into established graduate programs. Outreach objective. Disseminate the scent findings to the public. Behavioral modeling and simulation of connected devices objective. Developed new models and simulated several load conditions connected to grids. Statistical and probabilistic modeling and simulation objective. Develop validated models and simulations of power distribution grids for EMC and power quality assessment. Measurement and monitoring. Experimental evaluation of equipment and network objective. To characterize and evaluate the distribution network and its interconnected equipment with experiment or measurement. System topology and interaction. Compensation and corrective objective. To provide a verified set of tools and determine the risk of electromagnetic interference in complex systems by employing statistical approach. Activities. All of the scent activities are the result of collaboration between the University of Twente, the University of Zeeland, US, the University of Nottingham, UN, and industries. Based on MSCI-TNEJD European Joint Doctoral Scheme, each early-stage researcher of scent must study and take courses at these 3 universities. Besides academic activities, the scent also involves in several activities including the ICT Cost Action in Prague in 2019, the APEMC in Sapporo, Japan in 2019, the EMC Europe in Barcelona, Spain in 2019, Summer School at University of Twente in 2019, Scene Conference in Lodz in 2019, APEMC in Sydney, Australia in 2020, Etopia Workshop in 2020, IEEE EMC plus SIPI Virtual Conference in 2020, ENIA Workshop in Poland in 2020, IEEE EMC plus SIPI in Glasgow in 2021, Scent Summer School Roman II in Zielona Góra, Poland in 2021, Etopia Summer School Roman II in Politecnico di Milan, Italy in 2021, APEMC Bali in Indonesia in 2021, and Girls' Day at University of Twente in 2022 as an outreach activity. Partners, European Union universities. The University of Twente, the University of Nottingham, the University of Zielona Góra Industries, Siemens Motion Control Ursus, Lambda Engineering Eco Energetica Thales ENIA Operator Network Rail Solaris RH Marine Atkins Toron Jaguar Land Rover Other Partners IEEE EMC Society Technical Committee TC7 Netherlands EMC SD Vereniging MKESD. Let your mind wander now to Moses Adasu. Moses Adasu. Very Rev. Lefvar. Moses Orshio Adasu became governor of Benue State, Nigeria on 2 January 1992, elected on the Social Democratic Party, SDP, platform. He left office after the military coup in November 1993, in which General Sani Abacha came to power. Background: Adasu was born on 12 June 1945 at Mbamina, near Awajir in Shanjevtive district of Kinshasa, local government area of Benue State. He studied at St. James Jr. Seminary Kefi. He then attended St. Augustine's Major Seminary, Jos, an affiliate of the Propaganda Fide, graduating with a bachelor's degree in divinity. Later he studied at St. John's University, New York City, earning an M.A. degree, and then at Catholic University of America, Washington, D.C., where he gained a Master's of Religious Education. Adasu was a senior inspector of education at the Benue State Ministry of Education headquarters, Makurdi. He also taught in secondary and teachers' colleges in Jos, Atukpo, and Adikpo, and at the colleges of education in Akwanga and Katsanuela. He was a member of the Christian Pilgrims Welfare Board, the Benue State Prerogative of Mercy, the Advisory Council of the Episcopal Commission on African Tradition Religion, and the Board of Governors of the College of Education, Katsanuela. He was chairman of the Presbyteral Council, dean of Makurdi Deanery, Diocese of Makurdi, and vicar general, Diocese of Makurdi. Political career: Adasu was elected the second executive governor of Benue State on 2 January 1992. He was said to have had a positive impact on conditions during his 2-year term. He founded Benue State University on 27 December 1991. He reactivated and upgraded the College of Education, Adasu. He conceived the concept of the Tarka Foundation, named after Senator Joseph Sarwin Tarka, and launched on 2 July 1992. The foundation's building occupies 5 hectares of land in Makurdi and includes an art gallery, conference rooms, recreational centers, and chalets. The mandate of the foundation is unclear. Other projects that he started included Benko Roof Tile and the K/Ala Fruit Juice Company, but he was not able to achieve a great deal during his short period in office. Adasu stated that politics itself is not a dirty game, but it becomes tainted by those who enter it for selfish reasons. He added, "I am in politics to baptize politics and make it pure." He was removed from office when General Sani Abacha came to power in November 1993, replaced by Group Captain Joshua Obedme. In the Nigerian Fourth Republic, Adasu was appointed a member of the Independent Corrupt Practices and Other Related Offenses Commission, ICC, in January 2001. He resigned from the ICC in June 2002 to re-enter politics. As a member of the Alliance for Democracy, AD, party, he challenged the incumbent Governor George Akume of the People's Democratic Party, PDP, in the April 2003 gubernatorial elections, but was not successful. In September 2004, he was head of one of the National Convention Committees for the AD, after a factional split in the party caused by the return of former Chairman Ahmed Abdul Qadir. Adasu died on 20 November 2005. After his death, Benue State University conferred an honorary doctorate degree on Adasu. Let your mind wander now to Sam Rice. Sam Rice. Edgar Charles Sam Rice was an American pitcher and outfielder in Major League Baseball, MLB. Although Rice made his debut as a relief pitcher, he is best known as an outfielder. Playing for the Washington Senators from 1915 until 1933, he was regularly among the American League AL leaders in runs scored, hits, stolen bases, and batting average. He led the Senators to 3 postseasons and a World Series championship in 1924. He batted left-handed but threw right-handed. Rice played his final year, 1934, for the Cleveland Indians. He was elected to the Baseball Hall of Fame in 1963. Rice was best known for making a controversial catch in the 1925 World Series, which carried him over the fence and into the stands. While he was alive, Rice maintained a sense of mystery around the catch, which had been ruled an out. He wrote a letter that was only opened after his 1974 death. It claimed that he had maintained possession of the ball the entire time. He collected nearly 3,000 hits in his career, with his 2,889 as a Senator being the most in franchise history. Early life Rice was the first of 6 children born to Charles Rice and Louisa Newmeyer. Charles and Louisa married about 2 months after his birth. He grew up in various towns near Morocco, Indiana, on the Indiana-Illinois border, and considered Morocco his hometown. He was known as Eddie during his childhood. In 1908, Rice married 16-year-old Beulah Stam. They lived in Watseka, Illinois, where Rice ran the family farm, worked at several jobs in the area, and attended tryouts for various professional baseball teams. By April 1912, Rice and his wife had 2 children, aged 18 months and 3 years. While Rice's wife cared for the children, Rice traveled to Galesburg, Illinois, to play for a spot on a minor league baseball team, the Galesburg Pavers of the Central Association. Rice spent about a week with the team, appearing in 3 exhibition games. In an appearance on April 21, Rice entered the game as a relief pitcher and finished the last 3 innings of a Pavers victory, giving up 1 run in a game marked by forceful winds. That same day, Rice's wife took their children on a day trip to the homestead of Rice's parents in Morocco, about 20 miles from Watseka. A storm arose and a tornado swept across the homestead, destroying the house and most of the outbuildings. The tornado killed Rice's wife, his 2 children, his mother, his 2 younger sisters, and a farmhand. Rice's father survived for another week before also succumbing to his injuries. Rice had to attend 2 funerals, one for his parents and sisters, and a second for his wife and children. Rice played for the Muscatine Muskies of the Central Association in 1912, hitting 194 in 18 games. He did not play in 1913. Early baseball career perhaps racked with grief, Rice spent the next year wandering the area and working at several jobs. In 1913, he joined the United States Navy and served on the USS New Hampshire, a 16,000-ton battleship that was large enough to field a baseball team. Rice played on that team during 1 season. He was on the ship when it took part in the United States occupation of Veracruz, Mexico. In 1914, Rice joined the Petersburg Goobers of the Virginia League as a pitcher. He compiled a 9-2 record with a 1.54 earned run average ERA that year, then returned in 1915, earning an 11-12 record with a 1.82 ERA. Petersburg team owner Doc Lee owed a $300 debt to Clark Griffith, who owned the Major League Washington Senators at the time, and he offered Rice's contract to Griffith in payment of the debt. Lee is credited with 2 acts which influenced Rice's subsequent career. He changed the player's name from Edgar to Sam, and he convinced the Senators to let Rice play in the outfield instead of pitching. First MLB seasons. Rice played 19 of his 20 seasons with the Washington Senators. He appeared in only 62 total Major League games in 1915 and 1916. He played 155 games in 1917, registering a .302 batting average in 656 plate appearances. Rice was recalled up to the Army in 1918. He joined the 68th Coast Artillery Regiment and was stationed at Fort Terry in New York. He appeared with the Senators in a few games during 2 furloughs. By September, his company was sent to France and they prepared for combat, but the men did not see any action before the signing of the armistice of 11 November 1918. In 1919, Rice played in 141 games and hit .321, one of 13 seasons in which he hit at least .300. He hit .338 in 1920, recorded a league-leading and career-high 63 stolen bases, and was caught stealing a league-high 30 times. In 1921, he hit 13 triples, the first of 10 consecutive seasons in which he finished in double digits in that category. He collected a league-high 216 hits in 1924, which culminated in Rice and the Senators winning the 1924 World Series in a dramatic 7-game series against the New York Giants. Though not the league leader in 1925, Rice recorded a career-high 227 hits, 87 RBI, and a .350 batting average, career highs among his full seasons. The catch, the most famous moment in Rice's career, came on defense. In Game 3 of the 1925 World Series, the Senators were leading the Pittsburgh Pirates 4-3. In the middle of the 8th inning, Rice was moved from center field to right field. With 2 out in the top of the inning, Pirate catcher Earl Smith drove a ball to right center field. Rice ran the ball down and appeared to catch it at the fence, robbing Smith of a home run that would have tied the game. After the catch, Rice toppled over the fence and into the stands, disappearing from sight. When Rice reappeared, he had the ball in his glove and the umpire called Smith out. The umpire's explanation was that as soon as the catch was made, the play was over, so it did not matter where Rice ended up. His team lost the series in 7 games. Controversy persisted over whether Rice had actually caught the ball and whether he had kept possession of it. Some Pittsburgh fans sent signed and notarized documents claiming that they saw a fan pick up the ball and put it back in Rice's glove. Rice himself would not tell, answering only, "The umpire said I caught it." Magazines offered to pay him for the story, but Rice turned them down, saying, "I don't need the money." The mystery is more fun. He would not even tell his wife or his daughter. The controversy became so great that Rice wrote a letter when he was selected to the Hall of Fame, to be opened upon his death. After Rice's death, a Hall of Fame official located the letter describing his World Series play and delivered it to Rice's family. It was opened and read after his funeral. In an interview, his wife Mary said, "He did catch it. You don't have to worry about that anymore." The letter concluded by stating, "At no time did I lose possession of the ball." Later career, leading the league in hits again in 1926, Rice finished fourth in the Most Valuable Player award voting. His batting average dipped to 297 in 1927, but he hit 328, 323, and 349 from, respectively, the 1928 through 1930 seasons. Though Rice hit 310 in 1931 across 120 games, Dave Harris got significant playing time when the team was facing left-handed pitchers. The Senators also began to explore younger players for their outfield spots. The Senators held Sam Rice Day in late 1932, where the team presented him with several gifts, including a check for more than $200 and a new Studebaker automobile. He played only 106 games that year, often appearing as a pinch hitter. In 1933, the team returned to the World Series. Though the team lost, Rice batted once in the second game, picking up a pinch hit single. The Senators released him after the season. He played in 1934 with the Cleveland Indians, then retired at the age of 44. Cleveland manager Walter Johnson talked to Rice about returning in 1935, but Rice refused. Rice retired with a 322 career average. He stood erect at the plate and used quick wrists to slash pitches to all fields. He never swung at the first pitch and seldom struck out, once completing a 616 at-bat season with 9 strikeouts. Rice struck out only 275 times in 269 at-bats, or once every 33. 71 at-bats, making him the 11th all-time most difficult MLB player to strike out. He recorded 6 200-hit seasons in the major leagues. As the ultimate contact man with the picture-perfect swing, Rice was never a home run threat, but his speed often turned singles into doubles, and his 1920 stolen base total of 63 earned him the timely nickname, Man o' War. With 987 hits, Rice has the most hits of any player not to reach 3,000. Rice later said, "The truth of the matter is I did not even know how many hits I had." A couple of years after I quit, Clark Griffith told me about it and asked me if I'd care to have a comeback with the Senators and pick up those 13 hits. But I was out of shape and didn't want to go through all that would have been necessary to make the effort. Nowadays, with radio and television announcers spouting records every time a player comes to bat, I would have known about my hits and probably would have stayed to make 3,000 of them. In postseason play, Rice produced 19 hits and a 302 batting average. Career statistics. See Career statistics for a complete explanation. Rice accumulated 7 5-hit games and 52 four-hit games in his career. In the years that Rice played from 1915 to 1934, no major league player had more hits than Rice did. Later life, by the 1940s, Rice had become a poultry farmer. His farm was located in Olney, Maryland, next to that of Harold L. Ikes, the United States Secretary of the Interior. Rice and Ikes employed several workers of Japanese descent who were displaced from the West Coast by order of the U.S. Army after the outbreak of World War II. Rice was inducted into the Baseball Hall of Fame in 1963. He and 3 other players, John Clarkson, Elmer Flick, and Epper Rixey, were elected unanimously that year by the Hall of Fame's Veterans Committee, which considered players who had been inactive for 20 or more years. Rice said that he was glad to be inducted, and said that he thought he would probably be elected if he survived long enough. Rice remarried twice, first to Edith and at age 69 to Mary Kendall Adams. Mary had 2 daughters by a prior marriage, Margaret and Christine. In 1965, Rice and his family were interviewed in advance of a program to honor his career. The interviewer asked Rice about the tornado, and as he told of the storm and its destruction, his wife and children learned for the first time of the existence of his previous family. Rice made one of his last public appearances at the Baseball Hall of Fame induction ceremonies, honoring Whitey Ford and Mickey Mantle, in August 1974. He died of cancer that year on October 13. He was buried in Woodside Cemetery in Brinklow, Maryland. External links: Sam Rice at the Baseball Hall of Fame. Career statistics from Baseball Reference. Baseball Reference. Minors. Retro Sheet Baseball Almanac. Sam Rice at the Saber Baseball Biography Project. Sam Rice at Find a Grave. That is all for tonight. Let the silence settle in. Sleep well.